one time. Yeah? All right, let's do it. Okay, let's create a new project.
Is this Unit 4?
This would be a Unit 4 thing.
Unit 4!
Okay. Although later this week I'm gonna make a new lab where you'll be debugging stuff.
Okay.
And then that would be more Unit 3 based. But we are in Unit 4 here. So let's go ahead and make a Unit 4. Oops. Let's just angle this here. Okay, so inside today, let's create a thing called like React from scratch or Webpack React, whatever you want to call it. Someone say make dir, and I'll say React from scratch. Bless you. So today we'll be doing this, but tomorrow we can start using Create React App, which is a node module that kind of runs everything and builds the whole app for you really fast. But it kind of like becomes just magic then, so I'd kind of like us to spend some time to see what is actually happening under the hood. Okay, so let's go ahead and cd into React from scratch. And let's first start off by, let's see here. I have a project that I already built out that I want to follow along. So, okay, well, I'll just open this here. I'll take the terminal back. Hello. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome and welcome. Welcome. Okay. Yeah, I'm awkward by trade. You got it?
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, anytime. Okay. Oh my god, I don't think he likes me. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with. That's so weird. Oh, there it is. Oh, I think it's because it's like Apple TV, so maybe it's rendering slow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be a little confusing. Okay. Oh well. We'll see how it goes. Okay. So I'm just gonna open up my terminal, and we have a bunch of things that we will be installing. But first, let's go ahead and make our package JSON. So I'm gonna just say npm init -y. So the -y just means that I'm saying yes to all of those things that it prompts me, so that I don't have to enter all the way through it a bunch of times. Okay? I saw that the other day, and I thought, oh yeah, okay, that makes life a little easier. Okay, so then we have a lot of things to install, and so I'm going to go ahead and Slack them to you, and we can talk about them. Okay, so in Slack, you should see all of these things that we want. Yeah, it's a lot of things. To talk about a little bit what they are, we know Webpack, right? We've used Webpack. That's a bundler. It's going to bundle all of our files together. We know Webpack command line interface. That means that way we can call Webpack for things. We've done that. Then we have all of these @Babels and Babel, right? So Babel is what we're using to compile our JavaScript. So compile our JSX and turn it into JavaScript. So that way things will run like JavaScript. We have a HTML Webpack plugin. This will allow us to use, I guess, Webpack in the HTML. I don't really know that as well. We also have an HTML loader. That way we can load up our HTML page, I think. And we have a Webpack dev server. So our React apps, now they don't have to. You can set up React without having a server. We're going to have our React apps run on a server, just like how we had servers in the backend. And that way, when we make changes in our app, it will automatically show those changes and reflect those. So it's going to be pretty cool. Let's go ahead and install all of those things.
Save that. What's that? Saving.
I should have done it while I was talking. What?
Save that.
Yeah, you can save that. It will save it under development dependencies.
Oh. This is great.
It's a lot of things. There's a lot of setup, to be completely honest. No, but it will always take this long. Yes. So we don't have to always install all of these things. I'm not asking you to memorize this list, but when you use Create React App, it will install all of these things. So when we use Create React App, we won't have a webpack.config.js. That's something we'll be configuring today. Well, I have a document to copy and paste for you guys. But Create React App has that hidden away, so you don't have to deal with any of the configurations or anything. This is only if you're doing it from scratch. But Create React App takes a minute to get going. Yeah, because it has to install. It's still installing all of this stuff. You just don't get to see it. You won't. Okay. So in the meantime, I'm going to go. Oh, I'm already finished. Brilliant. All right. So then let's go ahead and create our get ignore. So let's go ahead and touch.get ignore. What? Oh, everybody else is still going. Oh, okay. You guys have newer computers than me, I think. Yeah. I think you guys have errors, right? No, mine's a MacBook Pro. I think it has a little bit more processing power. Yeah, I think it's because I'm a genius. What's up? Yes. Okay, well, in the meantime, hey, clap your hands once if you can hear my voice. We can still keep going. We're not using any of these for a while. So inside of .getIgnore, let's go ahead and add our node modules. So I'm going to say node underscore modules slash. And there's a couple more things I'm going to add in here because of the way we're going to be bundling things. So I'm going to say I don't want to include my bundle.js. Maybe remember that from our unit 2, I think. I don't know if we ended up doing a bundle.js. I think we let them. I think we pushed them.
We did a bundle.
Yeah, did we get ignore it?
No, we haven't.
Yeah, so I think we pushed it before, but when we're dealing with React apps, generally you have a lot of code. So we're going to ignore that bundle.js, and we're also going to ignore bundle.js.map. Okay? Yeah, it's a lot of like setup today, just to see it happening. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be worth it. Don't worry. Are we mostly there? Yep. Okay. Okay. Let's go ahead and create our Webpack file. So this is gonna be called webpack.config. .js, right? That should be familiar to the good old days when we were in Unit 2. Wish I could turn back time. Okay, I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to Slack this to you as well. So to be honest, I don't know what every single thing in this configuration means. It's just like a lot of configuring. Yes. So I want you to go ahead and paste that in our file. And so when we paste this in our file, we say where our entry point is and where we want our output to be, right? That seems familiar. We have some rules to our modules. This is something called regex. This event essentially is saying that I think we can take JSX files or JS files and transpile or compile either one of those. We say what we want to use: Babel loader, Babel env, Babel/React. We have our dev tool source map, and so this is it. We're saying we want to resolve any extension, essentially JS, JSX, and all. Yep.
Is it okay because we also added the bundle JS and bundle JS.map?
Yep.
And it's not showing the excludes in Webpack?
Yeah, we won't see any of those yet. Is that what you're asking? Because we haven't bundled anything yet, right?
Right.
Bundling will only be when we actually interact with Webpack, which we're not quite there yet. And then we have this plugin. This says this is our new our HTML Webpack plugin. So this is going to allow us to bundle everything and inject it into our HTML and have it running on a server, which I'm really excited about. Okay. Any questions so far on that?
So the path is I know it's a party one.
Path is something, yeah, I think it's just built in. I don't even know if we're using it. I made this Webpack configuration based off of a bunch of different examples I used, and I kind of Frankensteined a lot of them together. But it will work. But I will be honest, it will work. Okay, let's go check on our package JSON. So hopefully you have all of these packages in here. Let me know if yours does not. It might still be working on, if it's still loading, they're not all there yet. But we also want to add a few scripts. So after our test here, I'm going to throw in a comma, and I'm going to create a couple things. So I'm going to say, hey, when I say start, so that's a string start with a colon, I want to, and then I'm going to say, with a string, I'm going to say webpack, webpack-dev-server, right? That's one of those packages. I'm going to say --open --mode space and then development. Okay, I'm also going to add one more thing for, that's it. I'm not going to add any more. The building. So you will have like a way to build your app. I'll add it just so you see it. You don't have to add this. It will work without it. But we say with build, we can say webpack --mode production. So when you want to push something into production, you would make a build of your code. But today we're just going to use start. Okay. for now. Like we're going to use create React app, and it'll already be in there built in for you. And when you want to go push all of your code to production, you'll call a build on it. But while we're in development mode, we'll just be doing start for now. And since we're not going to push anything to production today, we don't really need it. But if you want to have it there as a reference, you can. All right, is anybody still waiting for those packages to load?
I'm good.
I'm having a problem.
Yours is still stuck?
No, I'm having a different problem. Same on that.
Because of the step change?
Yeah.
So just keep this one.
I'll keep it.
Alright, so we get. It'll be okay.
Corey,
Yeah.
the second thing you slapped out is the Webpack config?
Yes. Yes, so that should go in the Webpack configuration. All right, so then we have a couple more files to do, all of which are no longer a big deal. So that's nice. We've made it this far, we're almost there. Okay, let's go ahead and create a index.html. That should feel familiar, yeah? And let's go ahead and open that. So I'll say index.html. And let's go ahead and just build a basic HTML5 template. I'm going to title this React from scratch.
Yeah, it's only 26.
And inside of my body, I'm going to just create a div. This is a generic div, and I'm going to give it the ID of root. That's a pretty common pattern. And so React is a great example of client-side rendering. Right? You might have heard that term before. There's a couple different ones. There's server-side rendering, and there's client-side rendering. So for the most part, we've been doing a lot of server-side rendering, which is where we're sending up like a big HTML file, and most of the program is already created via HTML. Right? So that's coming from the back end. When a website comes, the HTML is the first thing to get loaded, and then the CSS, and then the JavaScript is the last thing to actually run. Okay, so server-side rendering traditionally can be a bit faster because all of that information's there, but they're also a lot less interactive usually because they don't have as much JavaScript there. React, however, we can set it up to be different, but for the most part, React is client-side rendering, which essentially means all we send up is like a basic HTML page like this, but the whole website is being built by JavaScript. And so it can sometimes be a little slower, but it's a lot more interactive, and there's a lot of power in the JavaScript. Okay? Could come up again someday. Okay. So we don't have the file yet, but I'm going to add my script tag. And I'm going to point this to, I think it's going to be /dist/bundle.js. I think that's what it's going to be. If it's not, we'll fix it. Hey now, how you doing? Okay, great. So we're pretty much mostly there. So let's go ahead and just add one more thing. Let's create a index.js file. Okay. And so in our index.js file, we're going to do just a couple different things, okay? The first thing is we're going to actually import React. So we're going to say import React from React. Notice the capitalization. That's important, right? React is capital. The from React is lowercase. Okay, we're gonna import one other thing from React. So we're gonna say import React DOM. Right, that's our virtual node, I think. From React DOM. Getting close.
And React DOM was something that we installed.
React DOM was something we installed in that mix. And React was also something we installed. Okay, we caught up. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab our root element. How do I do that? Do we remember? Query selector, nice. Document, query selector. A lot of the time you'll see get element by ID for some reason, if you're looking at documentation and whatnot. And now we can call React DOM. So we're going to say React DOM. And React DOM is going to give us this method called render. So we're going to call that method render. And render takes in two arguments. It takes in JSX, and it takes in the element that you want the React to come through. So for this example, we can just write div hello world, and we will pass in root. Okay, now I know what you're thinking. This looks like HTML. What's not working?
Was it supposed to pop up?
Nothing's supposed to happen yet. We're almost there.
Oh, no, you gotta
I gotta actually do it.
Okay, so you might think this looks a lot like HTML. It does. It technically is JSX. This will get turned into something else under the hood, because you can create elements. So like, let's say I could do like const e, and I can say react.create element, and then there's things that I can add onto this. I forget the exact syntax because like I haven't had to write like this ever. It's not really done anymore. It's like the old way of writing it. But essentially, you get these objects that this would look like div, and then I could have like another object that has class name pointing to like garden. I don't know. Let's say I put a class name on here. So yeah, because JSX is closer to JavaScript than it is HTML, when you assign classes, like you say class name like that, and then you can write the class name. But we'll go over that some other time. And then you could say like, I think hello world or something. Doesn't really matter, but this is kind of what a JSX element looks like. This is just like the syntax, like syntactic sugar to make it easy for us. Okay, so this is really what's going on, but this is what we're going to be dealing with, which is a lot nicer. Okay, the E was irrelevant in that example. Brandon?
You said the render takes in what two things, the JSX and what?
And a DOM element that we're going to be funneling our React through. Ashia.
When you say JSX, what does that mean exactly?
JSX is like this. It's kind of like a templating language in a sense, but it's going to get converted into JavaScript for us by Babel.
JavaScript that looks like HTML.
Yep, looks exactly like HTML, right? It looks really similar, and for the most part, it is. Okay, so we've done all of our hard setup. So let's see if it pays off. Let's hope, otherwise we'll be debugging. So inside of our terminal, we're going to run npm, and we will say start. And you'll see that it's opening up a server, it's compiling, the bundle is finished. We'll be able to see that it created a folder somewhere, I think. I don't know, it says it compiled. And then it should open up a window for you. And in our window, we now have hello world. Right, if you open, where? You got errors where?
As soon as I press enter,
Did you add that line into Webpack and all that?
yeah.
All right, so if you didn't get it to work, raise your hand. We can, John, Jenny, and I will go around and try to help.
I did add it. Debugging 101.
Anybody else who didn't get it? Yep.
No, I got it.
I'll be with you in a sec.
Live JS. Good. Remember that?
Yeah, Mark.
Oh, so basically, in a way, it does like some of the work.
In a way.
It's taking all the stuff and it's sort of like doing that already really right, the AC
That's right.
Okay,
Okay, so you can see here, if we examine our page too, and we look at the elements, like you can see that. Let me make this a lot bigger. You can see we have inside of our root div, right? We have another div that says hello world, right? That's what we just built. Yeah, Giovanni.
The console tells me to download the React Dev tools.
Yeah.
Yeah, do it. Yeah,
So where do I
download your React Dev tools. You can manage without them, but it's good if you get them. These are my React Dev tools, I think, these components. There's not much going on for this project.
But we don't need to bring this.
No, but you might as well.
Do we leave the npm start open? Like, do we not kill it?
Yeah, you do not kill that.
Okay.
I have another problem.
Yeah, so as you're developing, you don't kill this, but you can see that as we change things in real life here, I can say like hell world and save that. And this will automatically refresh. Welcome to hell world, right? And so that will work as well.
So, we're getting an error that says download the React Dev tools for better development.
Go for it. It says it didn't find your JS file. I don't know if we even need it. It doesn't look like it's here. It's still working, so maybe just remove that one. Maybe we don't need it. We needed it for a different version that I built.
So, how do we download the dev tools?
Just like you would download any Chrome extension.
Not there.
Or cherry. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got your first React app. Congratulations. Yeah, that's like super exciting. Tomorrow we'll do it with Great React app, and it will be a lot faster. What?
We didn't do bundle.js.
I guess it didn't. Yeah, we didn't. I don't think we need our bundle.js. I'm sorry about that. Let's go ahead and remove that. I think that's a remnant from when I was Frankensteining things together. Okay, so just seems to still work anyway. So you don't really need that. You do need that with different setups. I set up React from scratch like 6 different ways. So anyway, apologize if there's some weird redundancies and whatnot. I was trying to find the most digestible way to do it. Yeah.
Can you spell the script tag real quick?
I removed it.
Oh, you removed
I don't have it there. I got rid of it. As long as it says hello world, you're in good shape. Or hell world, whatever one.
We are live.
So, okay, so let's go into this a little bit deeper. All right? So, with React, we can write functions that will display things. Okay? So, for example, let's say I want to write a function. Let's just call this app in general. So I'll say const app. And this won't take in any arguments. Yeah, so it's going to be any component you build in React, whether it's functional or a class component, which will eventually be replaced by different functional components, they should be proud camel case. Okay, so that's the naming convention. And then here we can just return whatever we want. So let's say we'll go back to our div example and we'll say this is our app. Okay, so then instead of passing in div here, we can instead go ahead and pass app. Now you might be wondering, well, how do we pass app? Because app isn't a traditional HTML tag with an opening and a closing. When we are calling our components, we just do self-closing tags. So it's app slash. Oops, wrong thing. Don't ignore that for a second. Slash. Why is it do? There we go. Okay.
No way.
So I have a function here that returns what looks like HTML, really is JSX, and this should be interpreted correctly by the browser.
Oh, it happens. I didn't have to refresh it. Just happened.
It has to be written like that.
What do you mean?
In the React dot-render
React DOM.render has to, yes.
slash.
Yep,
Okay.
because all components are self-closing for now. Doug.
So does this run in the virtual DOM and it's saying, hey, this is switching, so that's why the front end is switching?
Not exactly. I'm not sure. I think this has to do with our HTML like web server plugin, so it's hot reloading for us. Traditionally, what we're talking about with that virtual DOM is when our components start to store something called state or local state. So they'll have some piece of information, and then if that information changes, just that part of the DOM will get updated. Yeah, Con.
I'm trying to use app because app is a function. Like so, if I call React random app of the function, it will still work.
Cool. I'm glad to hear that works. I want us to start thinking it in this way, because we are trying to move into this idea of components and reusable components. All right, so let's do something else. Let's add one more layer or so to this. Let's say I have a person. So let's go ahead and make a const person. Now these can be in multiple files, but today we're just going to keep it in one file. And I say, let's return. Something to note about your components is they have to return one child. Okay, I'll repeat that again later, but you can't have them return multiple children unless you use something called a React fragment. But we'll get into that. Don't worry. I'm just planting a seed. Okay, so let's say we have a person, and our person has some qualities. We'll just put them inside of a div here. Oops. And we'll say name, and we'll have it point to our name. Let's say Corey. So up until this point, we've been passing just one thing at a time in our React.render. That has to remain the same. But what you should know is that components can return other components as well. So if I have a person here, I can go ahead and add a person. Oops, capital P for person slash closing, right? So now we have our person in here. We have a component inside of another component. And it should appear, yeah, this is our app, name, Corey.
So you don't have to put it in the run, you can just leave it inside.
Right, so React DOM.render, there's only going to be one of those for your application. And it's only going to render one component. Now, our pages will be able to appear to be multiple pages, but that's because we'll use eventually something called routing and things to determine which components should be showing. But for now, we're just showing right now that a component can render another component. So what's this mean? Well, that means we have really reusable components. I could say person, 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 person. I could have 3 people, save it, and just like that, I now have 3 components. Now, the reason this is powerful might not be completely obvious yet, but it will become more obvious as we go. But I can style a component, right? I'm not going to do that today, but I could style our person to be a very specific way, and then all of our person objects, or person components, will be styled that same way. Right? It's like we can also map through things. We'll see that in a minute. Yeah.
So what information would you want to have in the first function where you would be able to call it 3 times and not get the same information? Like, so so you calling person, 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 instead of it being Corey, 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 why not it be like a different person?
Oh, great point. So she says, well, just having a functional component that returns the same thing every time, that kind of sucks. Because she says it just says name Corey, name Corey, name Corey. She goes, well, wouldn't it be a lot more helpful to have like name Corey, name Jenya, name John, right? Well, you're in luck. That's completely possible, right? So another rule of React is your components or your functional components have to be pure functions. A pure function means that it can take in arguments, and it will, if it's the same arguments, it will always give the exact same output, and it will not try to change or alter the incoming arguments. So, function adder takes in A and B, right, and it returns A plus B. This is an example of a pure function, right? Every time, if you give the same A and the same B, it's always going to return the exact same thing, and A and B are completely unchanged. Okay, that's different than if I had a function that took in an array, and I tried to push things and mutate that into the In React, our components have to be pure. We have two main types of components. We have functional components. Functional components. These are sometimes called dumb components. This is kind of going out of style though. I wouldn't suggest using dumb components anymore because a lot of the way we can write functional components now isn't dumb. So probably just stick to functional components. They're also sometimes called like display components or something. I don't know. I call them functional components. Then we also have class components. These also used to be sometimes called like stateful components. Or smart components. That being said, with the adage of hooks in React, which is something we'll get to probably in a few days, that's kind of no longer the case anymore. So just kind of stick with functional components and class components. Class components are being slowly replaced by stateful functional components with hooks. That's the future of React. But it's really important to learn both because like hooks are relatively new. So wherever you get hired, if it is with React, like you'll probably see like a lot of class components and whatnot. It's just the new code that you'll be writing will probably be functional components with hooks. Don't worry too much about that for now. Just planting some seeds. Okay. Today's not even officially a React day, which I'm really glad we got to do this because I wanted to introduce things different order. Okay. So, Ashia brings up a great point. So what if these instead take arguments? Right? What if a function instead can take an argument, like any other function we've ever written, right? Well, they can't. What's going on? What's going on?
Just trying to plug in the.
Right. Okay. Let me know if I can help. Okay. Is it good? Good? Does anybody else want to plug in their computer? Okay. I have an extra. My computer's totally charged. So if you need to borrow it, that's fine. Okay. So let's talk about arguments. Thank you, Danny. So when we are passing arguments into React components, they are called props. Okay? Always. Essentially. They are pretty much always called props, and it's always one argument. And that argument is an object. Props. Okay? Okay, so let me just throw a quick debugger in here. Right, debugger still works for us. And I'm going to show you, like, if I add to person here, how do I pass props into our person function? Well, I do it with a series of key value pairs that look like attributes that we would usually put on an HTML tag. So I can say name, and I think, yeah, instead of quotes, when we want to, in the world of JSX, we use curly braces. So it's slightly different, but I can say name, and I'll say Corey. Yeah, it'll be more fun to do John, right? Oh, well. Name, say, yeah, so it's done with no spaces, usually. There's no semicolons in JSX, okay, so don't use that. Say John, And let's go ahead and just rip this line and add ourselves a Genya. All right. Great. Who would know that I've known her for 2 years? What?
Change like to say in this example, you know how in the person that we made, how name was capitalized. Do those names have to be capitalized, or does it matter?
It won't matter. We've got a debugger here for our props. So we're going to see what this looks like. Okay, so we're going to go back to our code here. We are in the debugger. Let me just see if I can refresh this. Okay. This might not work as well as I was hoping. What? Is yours all just freezing up?
No, mine's all I have is my first prop.
Is it working
Yeah.
for you? Oh.
I don't know if it's supposed to pop up, but I'm in my debugger.
All right, hang on. Let me try again. Not sure why it's having an issue. We'll probably
see it.
mine's like freaking out.
Waiting for local souls.
Is your postman?
That's fine.
Might have to just gonna restart it.
So if you the debugger's person. Oh yeah. So each time it gets to it, so you run the debugger back.
That's you skip it out like
Yeah. Did you put it through?
All right. Well, mine's like.
Yeah, that's what you change it to that function. I think you change from scoring to state.
Mine's going nuts.
I just like got rid of the debugger, close it out, reopen it, put the debugger back.
And then it worked?
Yeah.
Did you pass it?
All right. Well, let's start again. Okay. Yeah. Who said that? Yeah, Dave.
I think that's the problem on line 15. You have to replace query with the props.name.
Well, I know that, but I was hoping to hit a debugger.
It hits. Mine hit the
Okay. Well.
Hit the debugger, but then it cleared and went to that one screen.
Why is mine like broken? I'm not even in the. I don't even have a debugger in the code. No.
It was just working.
All right. Well. I don't think it's the Apple TV. I don't know what's wrong with it. So in your debugger, why don't you take a look at what props is? Now props is an object, right? With the key name, and it should be pointing to the value of whatever you put in there. Question? No. I don't know why mine like totally broke. That is so bizarre.
I remember.
Where do you see an error message?
Little underline under line 15. On line 15 is there.
But it worked. All I changed was the. I was gonna go back.
I don't know why the syntax
Okay, even when I take the debugger out, it's still not working.
All right. Well, mine's clearly screwed. All right. So in regular, with your Create React app, the debugger I think is a little bit more friendly. I don't know what's going on. Honestly, I've got no idea. I will just. Shouldn't be the internet because it's relying on a server that we're spinning up. So it should still work because we're on localhost. All right, let's just.
Undoing is hard.
All right, let's just.
And I don't.
I'm gonna try one more time.
It's still not working.
My computer is starting to lag. Okay. All right, so hopefully some of you saw what it is.
Yeah.
So something is wrong with mine. I'm gonna restart my VS Code because I have a feeling something just wonky is happening. All right.
How you redo? Shift command one. Yeah, I don't know. Because when I first put the debugger into the page,
My problem.
it came the debugger, but then it like
Yeah,
freaked
that's
out,
what
and then it just gave me a
it did. Yeah.
Check what I changed was the quotes. I'm not sure if that's individually, but one of mine was a double quote and like
Mine are consistent. Man, my computer's like.